Dala, 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 dala. Welcome back to my channel. So today I wanted to do a little bit of something different. I wanted to look at some of the things that had been requested previously and discuss something that is a little bit lighter than what we've talked so far. So as you can see in the title, I will be talking about the Netflix mini-series based on the life of Mme CJ Walker. There's already been many videos doing reviews on that series, pointing out and contributing lots about it. My commentary is going to be something I hope that will add on to the conversation, and rather than repeating what has already been said in hundreds of videos, I wanted to spend a little bit more time on few things that have been a lot less talked about, but which I think are very important. And of course, as you know, on this channel, we're also focusing on African traditions, what can help each other be better, do better. And so there are essentially 3 points that I will address in this video, and hopefully you will find it useful as either you go back watching the series, or if you haven't watched the series yet, if you don't like spoilers, you may want to go and watch them first before watching this video, or you may want to listen to it and then look for it for yourself as you will be discovering it. The first point that I wanted to talk about is the fact that most of the reviews discussing the series are going to be focusing on and mainly address the inaccuracies in the movies, okay? Peeling things, pointing what was wrong, what is incorrect based on Mme CJ Walker's actual story. But I think this kind of defeats the purpose. The mini-series is said to be inspired by. It isn't said to be a biography. It isn't said to be an historical movie, and it is not a documentary. So I think unless you have some issues in terms of understanding what kind of movies or series you're watching, to me it's pretty much self-explanatory that the mini-series will not be something that is necessarily historically or factually accurate. I underline this because it is important. Most of us are constantly being trained to find what is wrong, to identify the problem, which is a good thing. You need to be able to identify the problem in order to seek and find a solution, right? But for the most part, many are trained and excel in the art of finding what's wrong and finding the problems. What I want to focus about in this first point is about you being excelling as well in finding the solutions and finding the traits that are positive and that are good. You're supposed to be, as much time as you spend looking for what is wrong, you should spend as much time looking for what is right, what is good, what is useful, and what you can learn from and use to better your own self and your own experience. And this is the first point. I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the positive aspects of the mini-series that are overshadowed and that are not even mentioned in many of those reviews that are being made about the series. Of course, this commentary is not an endorsement of the series, anything like that. This is not something I would recommend. There's a lot of drama into it. But looking for the things that are positive, I can mention a few to you. The first one is that as in opposition to the main male character, which is Mme CJ Walker's husband, who is being painted, and I'm saying being painted because it is a fictional story. Okay, this is not her life story, even though it is based on that. So this character, her husband, is a character in that series. Okay, so don't come here in the comment section saying, okay, the husband did this in the real life and all of that. I'm not being based on the actual autobiography or the actual the historical facts. I'm discussing the miniseries, the story that is being played in the miniseries, and that alone. Okay, I'm discussing someone else's art, someone else's creation. I'm not discussing the real life of Mme CJ Walker. I think it's important that I did this disclaimer again, because I already anticipate the comments that are going to be going off left and right out of the point that I'm trying to make. So the husband is being portrayed, you know, in a very negative light as a man. He's cheating. He's being less and less supportive towards the middle and the end of the movie, and he ultimately remarries somebody else after cheating on his wife. So nothing very positive about that. But I think the cheating and all of that overshadows the work that he has been put in from the beginning of the movie, where he is actually supportive of her, where he actually relinquishes his own business to be able to support her in her endeavors, that he contributes to her business and is highly motivated to see her succeed. Okay, now what is less being shown are the other men that are actually a positive force in Mme CJ Walker in this miniseries, and that are essential to her success. And I say essential because this is oftentimes being overshadowed. Okay, the first man I will mention is the lawyer, the man who plays her lawyer, who becomes her lawyer in the miniseries. Don't ask me for the name. I can't recall the name right now, but I'm sure some of you will go out of their way to put it in the comment section. So Mme CJ Walker's lawyer. It's important to look at this man because this is an important man in her journey. He is going to be her right hand. He's going to be to look after her in many kind of ways, whether it is her financial interest, her emotional interest. He's going to be willing to support her through thick and thin, even to the cost of lying to his own wife, and to also using time being away from his own family and caring for his own familial duties. And I think this is very, very important for women in general to look at, because if you focus only on the husband and the other men who are negative, the guy who set up the fire or something like that, then you'll get stuck and you will just focus on that and not see the goodness that's also being shown in that mini-series. This lawyer and his actions is one of those illustration of how men can also be very supportive of women without expecting anything sexual, anything like that in return, and because they believe in what the woman is capable of doing, and they want to support and encourage her. So the lawyer is really an embodiment of that. A man that is not looking into you for any sexual favors, anything like that. A man that believes in your business ideas and he's willing to support you. He's willing to gather other men to help you succeed. He's willing to put in his time and his effort. And he's even willing to sacrifice time with his own or time with his own family in order to see you succeed. And I think that is a very important character for women to look at. If you've watched the movies and you've played down the part of this man, it's important for you to look back at that and be able to reconcile with everything else that's been shown to you that was negative about men. And to add to the morality of that particular character, the lawyer, you see that he's being very loving to his wife. He's very being appreciative. Yes, even though he did lie to her at some point, he comes forward and tell her the truth very shortly within the sequence of the movie. He is a family man. He loves his family. He's dedicated to them. As much as he wants to make money and be able to take care of his family, he also wants to do it the proper and the right way. This now from the lawyer leads me to the character of his cousin, the cousin's lawyer. I think is Sweetness, his name, who is initially portrayed as this gangster wannabe, this trickster, this person who's oftentimes mixed up with the wrong people, or who seemed to be running some type of illegal organization, gambling organization. This is the initial presentation that we get of that character. However, throughout the movies, we soon realize that he's not only these things, that he also has a very human and manly side. First of all, he is the person that enables Mme CJ Walker to get her first important down payment by ensuring that the lawyer gets the $500 needed to jumpstart the fundraiser. So he is a very savvy business person as well. He is able to recognize when a great opportunity lays ahead and to invest his money in order for that business idea to succeed. And what is also a little bit more put on the front is that he didn't just want to be a silent investor. He wanted to be upfront, to know exactly what was going on and to be present as things develop. The second and most important aspect of it, and I think this is the part of the movie, among others, that really got me almost tearing up. And, you know, this is because I oftentimes like to watch movies and I get emotional because I get into, in some of those movies, I really get into the stories and I really get into the characters and the emotions. And yes, the portion that really had me tearing up is when the lawyer learns of Sweetness' death. Sweetness died protecting the lawyer's son. So we see again another aspect, the moral character of this person. Even though he makes mistakes, even though he's maybe involved in some shady kind of businesses, he still has a high sense of morality, and he was willing to sacrifice himself in order to save the son of the lawyer. And I think to me that it was a kind of a turning moment where we've kind of presented this character as someone who was negative, but then we are shown the human side of that character, shown that this is somebody who also can rise to the occasion when it is time to do the right thing and when the right thing is important and actually matters. I think the pain that the lawyer exulted when he learned that by him being with Mme CJ Walker, he was not allowed, first of all, to play his role as a father, as a husband, and to be there to protect his own children, and more in particular his son. And he also expresses a lot of gratitude when he learns that his son was defended by Sweetness, who was killed. So acknowledging that this other man was able to give his life to save his own son, not knowing if he would have done the same. And I think this is a really important part of the story, where we are provided with an opportunity to realize that things are not oftentimes black and white. There is this gray zone where even somebody who's done wrong things or bad things can just completely turn around when it matters and rise up to the occasion to do something that's beautiful and that is going to save the next generation. And for that, I think this part of the movie, the character, the build of this character is something to be applauded. So this was the second element that I wanted you to point out in terms of maybe balancing the view that you have of this movie and how this movie portrays men. So the third and last character that I wanted to mention in terms of the positive aspect of man, okay, is the father-in-law of Mme CJ Walker. And I think there is this pivotal scene where the father-in-law realizes that there's something wrong with his son and how his son is conducting himself in his own marriage. And he tries an attempt to give him insight, to give him perspective in terms of what he may lose by cheating on his wife, and realizing also the type of relationship that he does have. And I think it is a pivotal scene to see this older man, this older black man, trying to get through to his son and trying to warn him about the road that he's about to take, and warn him about what is going to lay for him in the future. I think in a lot of discussion about toxic masculinities, women are always talking about, the negative aspect of men. I mean, I'm not even going to get into that conversation, because for me, you can't really talk about toxic masculinity without talking about toxic femininity as well. The two goes hand in hand together, and one does not exist in its own, but exists in cohabits with the other. And so I think it is another way where you are being shown that men do speak to each other when it matters. You do have men that rise to the occasion and that want to be moral and that want to give a hint, even though the ultimate decision lays on the individual. You can preach and you can warn and you can say everything that you have on your heart, but it's always up to the person to take that matter into their own hand and decide what they want to do. But I think it was important to highlight that scene, and those three men that I've spoken about, the lawyer, the cousin's lawyer, and Mme CJ Walker's father-in-law, are very important figures to look at and to understand. There are also three different generations of men. I will say that the father-in-law is part of the older generation, probably seen a lot of things, talked about the plantation in many references, is in the later ages of his life, and he's able to have a lot more wisdom, a lot more insight as well in terms of what you can lose and what you may regret. Then you have the lawyer, who is, I will say, in the mid category, who is a man who also chose to be married, to be a family man, to provide for his family and protect them, and who is also trying to be moral in all of his endeavors. And even when he is not quite forthcoming or honest, we can still see through the episode and see through his body language and his expression that does make him comfortable. He is a man who wants to be who wants to have integrity, who wants to do what is right. And when he is not in a position where he's doing so, that bothers him. So he is a man of conscience, the same as the father-in-law is also a man of conscience. He could not stand to just stand by as he watches his son going down that darker path where he is going to be cheating on his wife. And similarly, the lawyer also aims for morality to be seen. He sees Mme CJ Walker, he sees this beautiful idea that she has and the potential that this idea has if it is financed, and he decides to fight tooth and nails for that idea and to support her in her endeavors. And then I will say the third generation, because I do think that sweetness for me kind of represent the younger generation, the generation that you can say are more troubled, that may be perceived as no good or involved in too much negativity, and even them are able to rise to the occasion, are able to show that they can be constructive and productive and contribute to the community as well. And I think Sweetness embodies that when he care for the lawyer's family while he's away, and that he is willing to sacrifice his own life to protect the innocents and the children. So that was my first point, looking for positivity, elements that are positive, elements that will reinforce some of the ideas that you have, or at the very least will balance the other negative ideas that you may have identified and dwelled upon. It's very important for you to always seek balance, meaning that if you find something to be very negative, just give it a second look to see if there is also anything positive within it, so that you can balance whatever perception you've had out. Now, the second point that I wanted to make with this video is to discuss about the idea of being self-made. So it is defined, if you Google it, or a general definition of being self-made is basically saying being self-made, succeeding financially by the grace of your own efforts. And this is very important to look at because it is defined as you not relying on the wealth of your own parents, but basically generating that wealth yourself through your own efforts. So my first take is that no one is self-made. I think it's a grand and beautiful idea to say that, oh, you've done it all by yourself. But unless you're Robinson Crusoe and you live on a desert island with nobody else, in a community, in a society as ours, there is no one that can truly say that they have been self-made. And the only difference, if your parents are wealthy, you may still manage to build something through your own efforts. Okay? And it's just that the wealth of your parents or whatever resources that your parents are putting to your disposition is going to help you succeed. It's going to help you maybe reach your goal a little bit faster. But for the most part, if you want to create something on your own, you're going to have to put in your own effort. However, most people who succeed, I mean, everyone that succeeds actually does not do it on his own unless there's a Robinson Crusoe. He had to build his own rafting. He had to cut the wood himself. Nobody was there to help him, and even then Friday came along. But I'm just saying, unless you live on a desert island where there's no one else, no other human being around, yes, you will have to do everything by yourself. And yes, from those efforts, your success will be due only to you and you, by yourself, you alone. Now, when you look at Mme CJ Walker, from the very beginning, she did not do anything by herself. And I think it's often seen when you say to somebody you didn't do it by yourself, it's often seen as something that's negative. There is this glamorification of doing it by yourself, of being able to work alone, of being able to tough it up and take it on and succeed without the help of no one, refusing even the assistance of other people, along the way, of some people, I would say, along the way. But, beloved, not doing it on your own is actually a good thing. And I'll come back to this notion a little bit later. But Mme CJ Walker was not self-made, and nor are anyone working in a capitalistic system or in a Western system or in any given society. Unless you're living on a desert island and you're by yourself, your success is not only due to your own effort, it is also due to the participation of other people. I would not be able to make videos and speak my piece and all of that if there wasn't an audience already there. And even though I knew that starting this channel will actually serve the people who are looking for this same information, they are looking for what I have to offer, it is a two-way streak. There would not have been any Mme CJ Walker product if there weren't anybody to purchase it. So there is always a give and take, and there's always participation from other people. The people who initially shown and inspired Mme CJ Walker's idea. So this Anna Malone, or this woman who was already having her hair product, showed her a few things. The relationship as shown depicted in the miniseries was not that great. However, she did nevertheless shown her. She helped her get inspired in terms of her being inspired to create her own hair business. That's number one. Then you can see the pitching in of all the family members in terms of their time, their resources into Mme CJ Walker's business. Then you see on the marketplace the black women, the many black women who took a chance on her product, who even gave her the time of the day to listen to what she has to say, to listen to what her product will do for them. They help her build up her business. Of course, you have her husband and all the family members who chipped in, who helped out with giving flowers, her daughters, the neighbors, everybody else that came in and chipped in, the people at the churches that contributed, that to give a chance to her product. So all of that to me means that it was not self-made, and it's a great thing. I think one of the most positive aspects that we can see in this movie is how everyone contributed to her success. From the people, the family members that help out with the business, the father-in-law, the daughter, and anyone else. But also the church communities around her, the other women in the neighborhood, the women even take a chance to come and work with her and work for her. the broader and larger community when her product was sent over and everybody picked it up. So all of that for me is a beautiful reminder of what we can achieve for just one of us when we are willing to give it a chance, when we are willing to just listen and to contribute. To contribute not just for our own benefit, but to benefit as someone else also rises, as someone else does well. So the women who used the product saw some result. They were happy to contribute. They were happy to put in the effort as well in terms of spending the money that they earned. They very hardly earned money into Mme CJ Walker's business. And I think this is not to be forgotten. The many women who worked for her and who helped her build her business. And I think that was also highlighted when she decided not to put her product in the 99-cent store, when she turned around and wanted to uplift her workers and recognize their contribution to the company. And I think those are very important moments in the movies and subject to take into account, that it is okay for you not to make it by yourself, to make it on your own. You shouldn't. You will be less worried, less tired if you actually rely on the very people that who wants to help you and who are supporting you. And I think this is an important lesson. Any of you is starting on a project, doing something, there may be people that will come across you, that will come close to you, that will want to help you succeed. And so instead of always wanting to make it on your own, wanting to be the bossy boss, look around and give those people the opportunity to support you. Whether they are right next to you, shoulders to shoulders, working together to build whatever it is that you are building, or whether they are on the other side, at the receiving end, looking to purchase your product, looking to support whatever endeavor or project you are doing, because they know they will appreciate it, and they know that the little gesture that they may make as a customer, as a patron, is going to make wonders for you. And that's okay. You should revel and expand and rejoice in the idea of being supported in all of the ways that the universe and God and the divine can support you. All of those ways, whether it is from your family, from your friends, from even strangers. And I think that's an important and beautiful element of that mini-series to observe, to see how it wasn't just Mme CJ Walker that enabled her empire to be born, but it was also the thousands and thousands of women across America that purchased her product and that contributed to her wealth. She wasn't self-made, she was community-made. She was made by every woman who purchased her product, every person who believed in her company, who believed in her, and who were willing and able to put in their money, to put in their time, and some of them to put in their resources. Now, the last point that I wanted to make regarding this mini-series, and if you don't retain anything, I hope this last point is going to be something that you will retain. On my channel, I always tend to want to bring things down to your own reality, to make it practical for you to see how everything that's in the world that's going on, whether it are movies, whatever systems we are discussing at the moment, how it boils down to you and how it may manifest or take hold or be used by yourself in your own perception, in your own experience. So the last point is the element of manifestation. And even though this has been talked quite a while in many reviews about this mini-series, I want to flip it to another element so that you can see how important it is what you focus on as a person, as an individual, as a group, or as a community. One of the major complaints about this mini-series has been the use and exacerbation of colorism. And this, to me, is a perfect example of manifestation. The kind of manifestation that deals more with the law of attraction than some of the other concepts that you've heard. The law of attraction and manifestation will manifest whatever you focus on. whether it is positive or whether it is negative. For me, in a lot of the different videos, I've seen many channels, many videos discussing colorism. Is not a new subject. However, the hype and intensity of the discussion is new. On YouTube, on the internet, on many different platforms. And those discussions most of the time focus on the problem. Very few of them focus on the solutions. And in this term, the solutions is not to focus on colorism, but to focus on what needs to be done and doing it. So some of these negative aspects that you've seen in the mini-series in terms of colorism is a direct reflection of the focus that many right now have about colorism. Not about discussing solutions, but pointing out the problems and the issues. This is what is being pointed out in the mini-series. The mini-series does not offer any solutions to colorism. Mini-series only focuses on exposing it and showing it to you and reflecting it back to you so that you can, maybe write more about it and talk more about it without talking about the solutions. And I want you to be very, very cognizant of that. That what you focus on, that you put your energy on, your words, your intensity, comes to light and infiltrates everything else in your experience and in your perspective. This is why if you find yourself watching a lot of colorism videos and where people are pointing out the negative, never talking about the positive or the solutions, then you will see more and more of that being infiltrated almost everywhere. Your attention will turn to that and you will see more of it. However, this is not to say that colorism is not a problem and that we shouldn't be doing anything about it. This is to say that your focus should not be on colorism, but on the solutions, on the action needed to be taken. Not by someone else somewhere. Stop telling men or telling somebody else that they need to do this. The lighter people telling the darker people they need to do this. The darker people telling the lighter people they need to do that to resolve it. Focus on your own self and what you are supposed to be doing in order to correct it. And it is through your own action, as you act differently, as you find yourself and catch yourself when you are expressing colorism or manifesting or showing it or speaking about it, that you catch yourself and that you correct yourself. Not somebody else, but you first. And of course, if you do have children under your care or under your authority, that you do correct them, that you do instill them the love for all people. That's the way to combat colorism. Not just pointing out the problems, but being part of the solution, actively being part of the solution. And I think this is the last point I will leave you with. I think overall there were a lot of positive things to look at in that mini-series. I always think that everything is not necessarily all negative, but of course you do have to do the part of things so that you don't expose yourself to things that are unduly negative for no reasons. So I hope this was useful, and of course I'll let you tell me what you thought about those three particular elements, mainly the first one being the fact that I asked you to seek and look for the positive elements, maybe also the three men that I've discussed that were showing a positive aspect of masculinity. What did you think about those three men? Did you even think about that when you were watching the mini-series? Is that something that touched you, or is that something that you overlooked or that was to you overshadowed by the negative characters? The second point was for us to discuss about what being self-made means, and whether in a communal or in a more traditional kind of sense, you will want to shift your perception to see that no one is really self-made. Everybody needs to rely on other people, and it's a good thing. It is that is at the core of our communal unity, and that is really needed for us to function as a society. When we are willing to support others, and when we are willing to let others support us. And lastly, taking responsibility for where you put your energy and what you focus on, not to focus so much on the problem, but to focus on being part of the solution yourself, as an example to others, and as an example for the children that are under your authority, your care, and your influence. So thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next video.